but then you're going to interact with them virtually that look completely different, but physically they're moving around you all the time. So yeah, all of that's coming, and it's all driven by even like now cheaper robots, easier way of implementing all this virtual reality kind of layer as well. So again, becomes more democratized and then becomes available more for everyone to use and try.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Mustafa?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mustafa. We will extend our discussion 10 minutes. So in order to finish at 3:20, to give more opportunities for audience to ask. Now, can I go back to Elif again? Now the development of AI and artificial intelligence go very quickly. Do you think in the future that we will keep the balance between like machine and human collaboration, or maybe one will be dominant of others? What do you think in your point of view?
I think there will definitely be a balance between machine and human, but the nature of that balance will change. So some of the tasks that we humans do today can be replaced by, let's say, machine intelligence or robots, so on and so forth. But that will define new niche areas for us to operate on and to make informed decisions about design. At the end of the day, we generate data to teach robots or to teach algorithms, what to do. We as humans, we have the agency to generate that data. So I believe that there will definitely be a balance, but as I said, the nature of that balance will change definitely, and as it has throughout history, right? So I think it's a natural evolution of how we work with, let's say, machines or robots or algorithms. The nature changes, it evolves, but we always have agency.
Okay, good. So that's encouraged me to ask how can we, in academia, how can we involve these things, the collaboration between, the changes of collaboration between machine and human, inside our, at the end of the day, we are teaching architecture in academia, So as you are well connecting the academia and practice, in which level would you prefer to involve the collaboration between human and machines or robots, maybe?
Well, we do that already. I mean, we do work with robots. We obviously, as I explained in my lecture today, we work with advanced simulation systems, machine learning, so on and so forth. So I do think that in order to be able to teach these, obviously one needs to be well aware of what's happening in the industry and academia in general and in the world in general in terms of technology. So one always needs to be kind of researching and reading about what's happening in the world and what's being applied in other domains as well, not just architecture, because architecture can be a bit slow sometimes in incorporating new technology. So we really need to be on the outlook for what's happening in other sciences, in other domains, and how to adopt them into architecture. And that's what we really do. That's what we should keep doing in education.
Thank you. Does anybody in the audience has a question?
Sorry, I want to add something to Elif as well, reply, because a lot of universities they're in a good shape because you would have a computer science department and you have maybe a robotics department and all of this. So it's trying to introduce like people to each other, just maybe bring someone from computer science, give a course in architecture, send an architect to see some other stuff that they're doing in robotics and so on. All this kind of cross-pollination also produces results in like a lot of interesting ideas in there.
Yeah, I just want to add something. That's a very good point. I mean, we also, for example, we also have engineering students. It's not just open to architecture. So that kind of cross collaboration is very important, like architecture and various engineering disciplines. And I just want to mention that, in that respect, I think that computation becomes a language of communication between these different disciplines.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the audience has a question?
Maybe I can ask Mr. Khaled or Elif can answer my question regarding, do you think these tools, these computation tools, and stressing on how nature we can learn from nature as a process, as Elif said before, what's the implication of these advanced tools on the social inequality within the city? Because we as architects, we design not only buildings. So do you think this will make the risk of social inequality increase in the city? I mean, like the affordability of these tools, be it in the architecture school as education platform, or also while designing social spaces?
I think, okay, so that's a really good question. I think there are two sides to this question. And actually, Khaled mentioned this earlier as well. Most of these tools are accessible to all of us. So, these tools really are a way of democratizing how we design. So within that regard of like actually utilizing the tools, I believe it would decrease the inequality, because as I said, they're all accessible. How we use the tools to design the spaces, that's the second part of your question. And I think that, it really is about, again, how you design the problem and how you frame the architectural problem, because the use of these tools can be extended to multiple scales and multiple systems. It's not just about, architectural spaces, but it's also about the interaction of people within the spaces. So when we're designing solutions, or when we're thinking about the architectural problems, we need to think about the cultural context, the social context as well, and how ultimately people will be occupying those spaces and using those spaces. So ultimately, I think that, these tools should, both within themselves and how they apply to architecture, they should be focused towards kind of decreasing that inequality, or at least addressing the inequality.
Thank you. Maybe Mr. Khaled can also hear your point of view.
Yeah, in terms of designing, I think it's definitely going to be bias and so on. And we see these questions as well, even in robotics and facial detection and all this kind of stuff, as that are built in a certain way that will just automatically get have this problem inherited into them. So, okay, if an optimization says, okay, if it's all the expensive buildings need to be next to each other, and then we'll just put them all in one place in the city and then segregate everyone else. So in a sense, we need to do a correction, human correction to this algorithm. And a lot of it comes from government and regulations that goes into our processes, which happens with architecture all the time, right? It's not, it tells you you can't build just 100% luxury apartment in this plot, for example. Then you need to actually try to distribute them in a way that everyone is kind of co-living in a space. So yes, if we leave this kind of tools to run its own, and then we without knowing, build all of these inequalities into them, the result's going to be unequal, obviously. So we just need to govern them a little bit to make sure that the products we're getting actually match the social context as well, and not just a number that's like related to a price of an apartment or something.
Thank you for the answer.
Dr. Mustafa, do you have any additions or questions? We still have 4 minutes before closing the session. So
yeah, I want to check if anybody want to ask a question for our esteemed keynote speakers. Okay.
okay.
Sif, I think I'll ask one.
Okay.
So,
go ahead, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah. So, Aleph, you mentioned that AI is a tool, right? It's not gonna kind of replace architect, but it's can used in a way to
helping.
Sorry.
I said assisting. Yeah, I'm listening. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it is a tool, and architecture for artificial intelligence to replace architect, we need to get as closer as possible to general AI, because architecture is not like only done on a on aesthetical level, but many issues come into shaping the building as we see it. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and I think it's a little bit different, as it's a little bit challenging. It's different than previous computational tools, because previous computational tools didn't challenge our intelligence, if that's the right term, that much, right? Yeah, so just go ahead.
Yes, well, I think yes and no in a way, because I think that, when we were first presented with, let's say, parametric tools around, let's say, 15, 20 years ago, that was also challenging for that time, right, to a certain level. And it was quite exciting, obviously, as the tools that we are using now are quite exciting. But, I mean, so that's why I said yes and no. So I think it really depends on the age and the time that we're living in. And, in a couple of years, we will most likely be talking about other tools that will be emerging at that point. And we will have to, again, adapt our mindsets and how we work with these tools accordingly. So I think it's a continuing process, which is very interesting.
Yeah. But it's also, I think, Aleph, it's a little bit alarming. Previously, computer used to be a person that do compute.
Yeah.
We don't have such an occupation anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I think for architects, to stay alive, to use the analogy from our previous guest yesterday, Dr. Neil Lee. They need to equip themselves with the proper tools and so on, and not only to be passive recipient of already produced tools and so on.
We have to be actively learning and engaging and using these tools and improving them, definitely. Yeah.
I think we have to choose. Okay.
Okay. I think we still have 2 questions. Dr. Osama, can you go ahead and ask?
Yes. Thank you for this lovely discussions, actually, and valuable informations. My question is the awareness of client and the relation and the role between architect, client, and educational institute to increase the awareness of metaverse and to aware the people, the client, about the opportunity in metaverse to transfer the idea or translate the design idea before building before implementing the building, especially in
everyone needs to be somehow on the same page about the tools and the workflows and everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Do you think we can take more question?
I think we can have one more question. Dr. Muhammad Subhi, I think. Go ahead, Dr. Muhammad.
Thank you, Dr. Mustafa. Actually, it's not a question. I'm just sharing a thought that was raised multiple times during those 2 days about the relation of AI and us as designers, who will take the place of who. According to my knowledge from the beginning of the research on design science, when it all began, it began with the aim to develop an expert system. That was the beginning of the aim. The main aim of developers was to develop an expert system where all the others are clients for that system. They provide the question and the system provide the answer. Probably that was not the aim for the theorists of us or the educators of us. We tried to know better about design from studying the design cognition and so on. But this day was planned from before, from 30, 40 years before. Nowadays, I think, according to what we have, the most essential is a rethink for our job, our role. What are we actually? Are we designing? Are the creators or just the facilitators of ideas, or are we just clients for a more expert system? I think what's coming is back to basic era for we're gonna be more into humanizing architecture, humanizing design. This is the area that we can do more in. The physical area of pleasure and what we call it, visual pleasure of architecture, the sense of seeing and sensing the space. Sooner or later, this will happen, actually. So what can we focus more about humanizing architecture? This aspect, I think, will take much time for the machine to learn it, about how to create more, how to achieve happiness with our designs. That's something I think, even as educator, and I cannot neglect this thing, as educators in the studio, we're trying to push students to use artificial intelligence, yes, and to humanize architecture, the design itself, in another way. That's what I was trying to share. I don't know if you're okay with that or not. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.